Okay, so we are live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm just going to play our little intro and allow people time to come in. And then we'll bring Magenta up here. How's it going, everybody? Let me just get everything situated. And we'll get Magenta up here. It's been a long time since we talked to her. It's always good talking to her. All right. It's been a very powerful week so far. We've had incredible shows, but I mean, just collectively, I just want to thank everybody for your continued love, support, and contributions. Allow us to keep doing this every single day. And if these shows resonate with you, please share. We would appreciate it. All right. Let's get Magenta up here. Here we go. There she is. What's happening, Magenta Pixie?
Hi, Todd.
What's been going on? I feel like I haven't, we haven't talked in a long time, but you've been so active and so busy, particularly in the last few weeks, that I feel like I know everything that's going on with you.
Yeah.
I can totally get your frequency. And big props for putting it out there since this whole thing's been going down. One thing I admire about you, you just put it out there and you just put blinders on and keep on going. And I think that's something we can all learn from. It's a time to step up. It really is. But thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's crazy and it's difficult sometimes to know what to put out. Do you spread seeds within the third dimension? Do you spread seeds within the fifth dimension? Do you talk about the cabal and the dark plan? Do you talk about the spiritual energies? I try to do both, bring in the 9 and speak from my perspective as well, and just go with the feeling on the day as to where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and that's a good summation. I mean, and there's a few others like that. You know, we've had quite a week this week. Laura was on a couple of days ago. She does.
Who was?
Laura Eisenhower.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, love
yeah,
Laura.
she was on a couple of days ago. Yeah, and Mary Rodwell last night. I mean, these are people like yourself who've been out there doing this for a long, long time, and that's exactly why I think they appeal to people, is because they have that combination of human and all the other stuff. You know, they're not divorcing themselves from one side of it or the other, and that's what I love about your stuff. That's what I love about Laura's stuff. You know, it's just, when I got into this 9 years ago, one of the messages I got was make people think. You know, you don't have to be right. You don't have to be wrong. Just make them think, make them question. And that's what I see happening now worldwide, is people are starting to question things. You know, even people that we said weren't awake, they're like going, this doesn't make any sense. Why can I go to the beach? I can't go to the beach and, you know, and be 50 feet from people, but I can go to a grocery store and touch shelves and food that everyone's got their hands on. Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know? So yeah, it's a good thing. I think it's a good frequency. And I think maybe your delivery and those of the other people like that will start to be matched by people, and acknowledge our multidimensionality, acknowledge our higher aspects, and but also acknowledge the human.
Yeah. Well, that's the push at the moment from a spiritual point of view. And people are being forced to wake up. As you said, they're asking questions because they're being presented with such confusion. The human mind doesn't like confusion. The human mind wants to sort everything out. And when things don't add up, that's when awakening happens, even though it might be very difficult for those people because they are, confusion and being in limbo is not a good place to be. But that's what's being forced on everyone right now.
Yeah. And then you're in the what seems to be, at least from my opinion, seems to be, I mean, people talk about the United States, and I think there's a valid, there's a valid argument that it's kind of the central point, or the central location of where the transformation takes place. But England's a player, man. London's a big player. I mean, and I'm a history buff, but sometimes I look at the size of that country. I think, how in the hell could they have impacted? I mean, have you ever looked at just the imperialization of England? I'm sure you have, being an English native, but they're just like, I mean, how did that happen? And yet the power of influence, regardless of what's happened in terms of people being taken down a notch or two or whatever's going on, it's still a very, very powerful place. So I've never been there. I can only imagine the concentration of that energy and what it's taken to offset it, which is probably a bunch of light workers over there,
Well, I was blindsided by that one because I've always been told from the 9 that America is the central point. America is the new Atlantis. All eyes on America. What happens in America affects the rest of the world. And I've always been shown that everywhere else is kind of like a secondary place and that we get ripples from America. But trying to actually analyze what that presentation means doesn't always come out in the way that you think it is, because when I saw how big a player the UK is, I was really surprised because I expected us to be in the background. I kind of interpreted this whole thing before virus and lockdown as us sort of sitting watching television or watching videos, seeing all this happen in America while we're kind of bystanders and maybe trying to help in America in some way. It's not like that at all. It's totally global. I think what the 9 mean by this is the ripple for the light is starting in America. The light is coming through a portal in America. That's why America is the new Atlantis. And what happens in America to create that light is rippling out to the rest of the world. Yeah. But obviously, yes, the UK are major players in this situation right now, as it is most of Europe and every country. It's global. Worldwide. But yeah, the UK, it surprised me. I didn't think the UK would have such a prominent place in this.
They're resilient. I mean, you look at the history, I mean, you can't deny it. And kind of under the radar, I totally agree with what the 9 says. And in fact, we've talked about it on this show. I mean, it's really interesting, the role the US is playing. But this has been our journey, all of us as transformers, I mean, taking really our whole trip here. We've gone into a very dense atmosphere in this realm, and of course it's beat the heck out of us for a while, but now we figured it out, like we're actually transforming this this slow moving dense energy into something that's absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, this is the other side of it. I mean, people are like, oh my God, what's going on with this quarantine? And I'm like, oh my God, this is so freaking exciting. Like, how better we couldn't have ordered off a menu. And I've had so many people on here in the last few weeks are like, well, I knew this was going down, but I didn't know it was going to be like this, like they're just shocked. And but the energy, the energy that's coming, I mean, on the surface it looks one way, but you've got to be alone. You're taken out of your patterns and behaviors. Different institutions or structures within the 3D matrix are just, they're just dissolving. They're not even imploding. They're just like sand dissolving. And
Yeah.
And so people are doing a lot of self-introspection. I think that energy collectively is affecting everybody, you know?
Yeah. Yes, it is absolutely affecting everyone. It doesn't matter where you are in your belief system. This is touching everybody on the planet. There is this kind of two-world split that the Nine have spoken about before over the last few years, where you have one group of individuals that are aware to the truth, they know what's happening, and then you have another group of individuals that are in the false narrative and stuck believing that their reality is as they're shown it to be. That has changed for that group. Their reality is now shaken. Even the group that still believe the narrative are desperately clinging on to that false narrative. And as you say, it is dissolving. The interesting thing here is that those that are creating this are actually wanting to keep a lid on the awakening.
Yeah.
They're wanting to dampen everyone down into a place where they are controlled and they do believe the false narrative. And every action they take to do that is actually doing the absolute opposite. Every step they take to dumb us down, push us down, is actually creating another wave of great awakening, because it's moving in alignment with this higher polarity and this consciousness shift from multiple dimensions. And so the energetic is not conducive for this step-by-step rollout of this cabal plan that David Icke calls the totalitarian tiptoe.
Yeah.
The energetics are no longer conducive to that. So each tiptoe is actually another step in the awakening. But this is not seen from the perspective of the third dimension. You cannot see this because you're immersed in it. It just looks like chaos, confusion, and it looks strangely, eerily normal. And then you think, but it's not, it's different. And you're trying to create a normality in your mind. That's what those people are doing. So everyone has been affected. And the Nine told me that the third dimensional realm that we are in is now far more multidimensional than it was, because the third dimensional individuals, even those in the false narrative, have been thrust into the lower realms, the lower harmonics of the fourth dimension. So there aren't very many third dimensional thinkers at the moment because they've been thrust into fourth dimensional thinking, and the lower harmonics is not a very good place to be when you're thinking fourth dimensionally, because it is chaos and confusion.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. I was really shocked, really. And this is just my own perspective. But when it all started happening and I started looking around at it, I was like, this is going to get bad. And I'm not a, pessimistic thinker. I thought this can't be good, but the way people reacted, I mean, I'm talking about the whole world. I mean, you would think as a whole, there would be mass hysteria, but it's weird. People are actually, for the most part, I mean, people are actually not, it's not even so much about compliance. It's just like everybody's in their head. Everybody's looking at their stuff, and God, you think about the impact that has on the collective energetic field alone, just people in their own sovereignty, in their own little steps, the energy and the impact that that's creating. And you're right about the controllers. I mean, it's almost like they're in quicksand or something, because every time they take a step, they just sink deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's almost like a cartoon, some of this stuff you're looking at it going, that just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. It's laughable, but this is what we ordered, and it's beautiful. It's brilliant.
It is. From the fifth dimensional viewpoint, it's easy to see. It's easy to see that picture, and it does look beautiful because you can see the outcome. But from the fourth dimensional viewpoint, and when I say third dimensional, I mean, the geology of the land and the people that are in that false narrative, you can't see it. In the fourth dimension, you have a different perspective, and that's what you mean by people are in their head. Yes, they are. That's the fourth dimensional way of thinking. You can see more, but there's no cohesion unless you know how to navigate through. especially in the lower harmonics,
Yeah.
which is confusion and chaos. And that act is deliberate, but it was, what I'm told from the nine is it was a plan B. You know, the original plan was to come at the people with a planetary takeover, an attempted planetary takeover, and it's a head-on attack. And that didn't work. That didn't work for them. So now they're trying a different tactic, especially that can very much be seen in the UK with the new way things have been presented from the UK government. I mean, it's fourth dimensional language in your face.
Yeah, I followed it. It's almost like a yo-yo. I mean, it's comical. It is.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing about the one thing about the what we were talking about at the top of the show, you can't have that kind of impact on the history of the world and cover that much ground if your population is not very intelligent. The English are intelligent people, you know, like a lot of other ethnicities around the world. But so that's what I was wondering, was like, how long is it going to be before because this energy has to be affecting every single person on the face of the earth. I don't care who you are. And every day it's a new story. Every day the chalkboard gets erased and you're starting with something totally new. And you know, you've got more knowledge, you've got, but when is a leader, you know, or an organization of some size going to just say, hey, by the way, we don't know what we're doing either. We're in the same boat you're in. We don't know what the hell's going on, you know? I mean, this energy is moving so fast, and it is quantum. And it's just like boop, 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 boop. You know, people are just like sponges now, and these kids coming in. So the whole energetics is, I was never a big one for like, oh, the poles are going to shift in a split second. But you know what? I don't put anything out of the question now at all.
No, I think that's a good idea, to remain open to all eventualities, because that's what the timeline situation looks like. This is like a modeling clay, this fabric of reality, and every thought is placing its ability to manifest into that fabric. So we don't know what's going to happen. It is the unknown. We can get a good idea of what can happen, but because that fabric of the unknown is like modeling clay, those that have a fifth dimensional anchor and alignment can actually utilize that as modeling clay. So they're in a place of creation. And then, but it is a global creation. This isn't individual manifestation. That still is working. But what we're looking at here now, and anyone who's been working with manifestation will have raised up into working with the collective. This is a telepathic, global collective manifestation where we're working out where everyone else is fifth dimensionally. What do we all want fifth dimensionally? We all have the same heart. We all have the same desires, freedom, predominantly freedom and liberty, sovereignty, all those things. So that's what we're working on. But when you look at individuals in third, fourth dimension, up until specific to the UK, but obviously everything's rippling out across the entire world. Prior to the government a few days ago coming up with their new plan for opening up lockdown, for exiting lockdown and opening up the economy again, prior to that, the third dimensional clinging on to that false narrative was still fairly strong. Anyone presenting a different viewpoint is seen as a conspiracy theorist. You know, I had people say to me, if I have one more person come at me with a conspiracy theory, I'm going to go insane. And it was that kind of thing. Stop shaking my reality. Let me believe that what I'm being shown is true, and stop showing me all this other stuff. I don't want to see it. That's where they were. But then when the government came in with their new plan, they've kind of, you're saying, when is there going to be a group that steps forward and says, we don't know what we're doing? They kind of did that really when they came forward with their plan B or plan C or whichever one it is. They're trying a new tactic now. It's no longer head on. It's passive aggressive gaslighting. That's what they're doing. And yes, the people are intelligent. And I don't just think it's the UK. I think humanity is more intelligent than the cabal have ever realized. They've underestimated humanity. They don't know how humanity are going to work. They have some idea of how some of humanity are going to work, but what they're not realizing is we are a multi-dimensional humanity, and there are many, many different ways of being and ways of thinking within humanity. It is not just on one tone. And the awareness within the cabal has been, let's say, not where it could be if they wanted to view more. And that's fifth dimensional. They aren't able to see the fifth dimensional viewpoint. They can only see through the third and fourth. So they've been limited in their understanding of humanity, and they've been limited in their ability to second guess humanity. So that's kind of what's happening. And when the UK government came out with their next strategy, which is this confusion, all those people clinging on to their reality and screaming at everyone to stop conspiracy theory and go away and let me get back to order, the very place they were looking for that order, which is the government, and it is the mainstream media, and it is the police force, and it is the National Health Service, that those very systems together are showing them a picture of confusion. So now each person has to choose which way they are going to go, because to try to hide is virtually impossible. I mean, I've had people say to me, I don't want to hear about this anymore. I don't want to know about the virus. I don't want to know about lockdown. But they can't not hear about it because it's constantly on the news. It's constantly on social media. It's on everyone's minds, and it's happening to them. So you can't get out of something. It's like being in the sea and saying, I don't want to be anywhere near water. Please get water away from me. Oh, I'm in the sea. You know, so it's not possible for them to do that. So they have to awaken. And that's when the saying, the spiritual saying that the nine say to me, and that is being said to all spiritual individuals, is the only way is within. So you go into your head, first of all, and try to make sense of things. The truth, of course, as we know, is in the heart, or in the combination of the head and the heart and the power. So this is activating higher chakras in the individuals that hadn't activated those chakras, if you want to use more spiritual terminology. So yes, it's the Great Awakening, but that chaos and that confusion, if everyone was there, then this is very much like a ship without its anchor and a complete loss. There is no cohesion in the timelines. So it's anyone's game. And that makes individuals vulnerable. And those at the top of the Illuminati service to self pyramid who do have cohesion, I was going to say confusion then, the deep states have confusion, but those at the top of the pyramid, the service to self structure, have cohesion. Humanity would be a sitting duck if all there was fourth dimensional confusion, which means the government's ploy at gaslighting would work if every individual was in that place. What they're not accounting for are the individuals that are aware. And you're looking at truthers, light workers, starseeds, the fifth dimensional individuals who've been working with this for years, many their whole lives. They've been born into this pathway. Those individuals are also cohesive. And because it's light rather than darkness, to use that metaphor, it carries more weight, it carries more strength, it has more mass, it has more focus. So those individuals are carrying those individuals lost in the lower echelons, lower harmonics of the fourth dimension. If it wasn't for the light workers and the star seeds, they would be lost. Those people, even if they aren't aware, because there are fifth dimensional individuals that aren't necessarily aware of what they're doing fully in an interpreted way, those individuals are carrying those individuals right now. Thank heaven for them. And there's so many of them, and they are all working 24/7 to live their mission. And well, according to the nine, they're just doing wonderfully. And this is another thing I'd like to say. There are people within that light worker fifth dimensional community that are still doubting the whole thing. Of course, that's natural, that's normal. I have been doing it as well. So what the 9 would say is, if this was about a new world order future, a transhumanism future, the cabal structure taking over, putting everyone into total confusion and chaos, putting the masks on, putting them into the slave race energy and taking over. If that was the future for Earth, what are the Starseeds doing here? Why did they even bother to incarnate?
Right.
Why are they here? They're here because it's not that. That's their aim, that's their agenda, and that's their intention, and that's their desire. And they are working on that multidimensionally, and they are working on that magically, and they are working on that spiritually. But the Starseeds are here, the light workers are here, and they work on those same magical levels. They're able to understand that polarity and neutralize that polarity, and they are the collective that's in alignment with natural organic forces. Yeah. And that's what's so important, because that's what the planet wants, that's what the cosmos wants. All the other planets in the solar system, the sun, the galactic core, and every intelligence there is in alignment with the Starseed Lightworker light movements, not just starseeds. We have you know, individuals who don't know anything about starseeds and light workers. They're still in that collective, the service to others, heart-centered collective. So
yeah, true that. Very well said. And in talking to Mary Rodwell last night, she said that. She said, however, I don't remember the context, but she said, you know, I wouldn't have come down here and agreed to this if it were going to be, you know, what it's been. We came down here to do exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because we actually had free will before we got here. Because we chose to come here. And
yes.
Yeah. So
yes, we did. Others didn't. Others were trapped in a reincarnational cycle. Others chose to go through a long-term reincarnational cycle. They stayed here reincarnating over and over again from Lemuria and Atlantis, and they made that choice. They're still starseeds, but they took the long linear path of multiple incarnations, and others came here just for this.
Yeah, and others came for the coffee. I'm just kidding. But it's getting interesting. It really is getting interesting. I mean, you know, if I look at, I mean, I've looked at your stuff goes back on YouTube, goes back to 10, 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. And so if I think about people like you or Mary or Laura, or, you know, even people like Morgan, who's been doing it like 20 years, that are in the background, all these people that have been doing all this work, following their own guidance, either very publicly or very privately and everything in between, they have got to be, because I don't put myself in that category, but I mean, they have got to be excited. Like, you know, I just didn't see it coming like this. And that's what I'm hearing from people. Like, it looks like one thing and it comes out of the washer as another thing. Yeah. And this energy that you're talking about, you know, I've been saying for a couple of years, this needs to go mainstream. These conversations, these frequencies, they need to go mainstream. I think it's actually happening.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will go mainstream. It is mainstream. One of the reasons why the light workers and starseeds have a backstory, if you like, of work, from the perspective of the individuals in the same energy that they're all going through this energy together, and they're all creating their work, and they're all working within the mission. But if you look at an individual who's just woken up to this, they are very late to the game, if you will. Yes. So it's very difficult for them to discern and to decide who to trust and who to not trust. And that's good that they're in that position, because you don't know who you can and can't trust if you aren't able to discern energetically. So the individuals who have a large body of work behind them is to assist those newly awakened individuals to discern. Because if they wake up and they come across, for example, you or me on YouTube, if we only just got on YouTube last week,
Yeah.
They'll be like, well, who is this person? Yeah, they might make sense, but you know, I don't know this person. I don't know who to follow. I don't know what to believe. When you look at someone, oh, this person's been online for 12 years, talking about this stuff for 12 years or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, however long it is, then you look at that person's body of work and you realize this has actually been prophesied. Not the virus necessarily, lockdown possibly, but it isn't necessarily virus and lockdown and social distancing that we picked up on. It's the energetics of the takeover, the attempted takeover, as David Icke calls it, the totalitarian tiptoe. It's the energetics of that.
Mm-hmm.
The energetics of the light dark polarity, the service to self, service to others, dance, battle, chess game, war. That is what has been talked about. And it's not just for 12 years in my body of work. This goes right back to, you know, the earliest texts that we can possibly find, all of the religious texts, the Bible and the Quran and you know, all of them. This has been prophesied for years in its energetic form, that there would be some kind of change, some kind of shift. And for those that have understood these prophecies, yes, it's a bit of a surprise that it's come this way, because I think, well, like myself, I knew that there would be an awakening of that which has been hidden, and all the darkness would be shown to the world and the world would wake up. But I think we interpret that sometimes as someone's going to take over mainstream media, storm on into the mainstream media broadcasting office, you know, tell the staff to get out, grab the microphone and go, hey everyone, we're being controlled. And it's not work like that whatsoever. I mean, that's not what I thought, but I mean, that's a literal interpretation of how we thought we'd just be sitting in the armchair watching it play out, and we're actually all participatory in the downfall of the structure. I also felt that we, the starseeds, the aware individuals, the truthers, we would bring down the dark forces together as a collective, and we are. But I didn't realize that the dark structures themselves would actually be bringing themselves down. And they are. That's happening.
Yeah, because it's like the energy's changed in the realm. And however that happens, whether something's being inputted or whether we're doing it or both, but something's changed and it just won't support ill intentions. It will not. There's an alignment occurring, and you know, like I always say, let go or be dragged. And you're right. You know, I spent 2 or 3 days kind of doing my own thing, working through these energies that earlier this week, you know, which a lot of people talked about. Tuesday we didn't do the show Tuesday. I couldn't do any of this.
I'm so sorry about canceling.
No, that's fine. It happens. But I had 2 other shows and they didn't go off.
Right.
So I got this, like, you're not supposed to go on today. And of course we talked about it on the previous shows, but I spent some time watching different things. I do that to check my own alignment. So I might watch police brutality videos. And see, you know, am I going to get charged out of it? But anyway, one of the things I came across. So
I do the same.
I get that. I understand that. That's just how I'm built. A lot of people look at me and go, what are you doing? But anyway, I ended up watching like speeches. So I watched some Trump and I watched Pelosi and I watched this Dr. Fauci and I watched, you know, mayors and governors and I was watching it and I was thinking to myself, what are you doing? You never watch this stuff. But as I was watching it, it started to come through and I could just see how fruitless it was, how futile it was, how unbelievable it was. And I wasn't like in anger or anything, but I thought, man, people are there. It's like a false flag frequency and it's just not working anymore. Like they did say 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it's just not working anymore, you know?
Exactly. I mean, if you look at all the political corruption that's going on, let's say, at the moment, and that it's, you know, starting to come to light, to even to those in the mainstream. That sort of thing, this corruption, this falsifying of documents and blaming someone else for something that you have done at high political levels, at presidential levels, this has gone on for years and years and years. This isn't anything new, and it's never come to light. It's always been kept under the rug, behind the veil, because the energetics, well, what the nine say this is balance has to be kept in a third dimensional planetary system that is experiencing polarity. It's the choice of all the individuals incarnating there to experience that polarity. So balance is kept. The dark does not overshadow the light, and vice versa. And you can live within your own polarity and live the life you want to live within that polarity, but balance is kept. But that cannot be infinite. That's a finite structure, because there always comes an awareness and an awakening, and we live in a sine wave reality where we move up and down and up and down, and there will come a point where the balance changes because the polarity changes, and the whole dimensional or density structure of that planet changes. And that's the point we are at now. And the service to self groups have known this for a long time. It's not that it's hit them unawares. They are aware of this, and they've been trying their best to find a way to navigate through it, or to try to entrap it, to create a false timeline, a false reality, or at the very least delay it as long as they can. And because we're now we're now in a energetic where the polarity acts kind of like an instant magnet. So everything you are in resistance to is swinging back into its opposing force, if you will, the minute you have that thought, let alone put that plot in place. So a lot of this political corruption that may have occurred in the last X amount of years, at first there'll be one little thing that comes out, and everyone is so shocked. If you look at news broadcasts, they're like, I can't believe that this is, sorry, I've got oh, okay. Sorry, that's my husband coming in. He's obviously downstairs watching. Sorry, he doesn't normally interrupt me in the middle of an interview. My husband said he's heard you talk about police brutality just now. And at the exact same moment that you mentioned that, he saw something pop up that's literally just come to his attention. The Australian mother who had her child pulled off her.
I saw that.
Did you see that, where the child
I saw that yesterday? Yeah.
Well, I mentioned her in the Divine Feminine Roundtable broadcast that I did with Paula Connor and Laura Eisenhower and Simon Park's wife. There were 7 of us. Well, this lady has contacted this Divine Feminine group directly and thanked us all for our support. But that email came through literally, as you mentioned, police brutality. So my husband's on the computer, so he's hearing Todd say police brutality, and up comes this email at the same time. So this is the synchronicity. The reason why that occurred just now is to confirm everything you and I are saying about things flipping into the positive. That's why he came in the room.
That's and you know, this came up yesterday. Of course, it comes up all the time now, right? I mean, this is the real language. This is the real information. So yesterday, I was talking to Mary Rodwell. I have to rethink because we did 4 shows yesterday. So she works with one of the things she does is she works with kids, 7-year-old, 9 years old, 10 years old, all around the world, who are relaying to their parents and then to her, I was on a ship last night. This is what happened before I incarnated on Earth. This is the planet I live on. And so in the course of the conversation, 3 different anecdotes came up about these blue butterfly star family, ET. And I said, there's got to be something going on here, because this person brought it up, this person brought it up, and now they were way off in terms of the linear timeline, but this is what happens. The past, the present, the future all merges. That information is coming in for a reason. And so on that note, I was actually thinking, I'm going to ask Magenta, because in 9 years of research, and I'm not saying I'm the best researcher, but you don't have to work too hard to get out there and really find out some information. I've never heard anything about the blue butterfly ET race. And yet here they're coming in. This is like, I mean, I've never heard of them. Who is it? But again, it has to be relevant because all that information came at one time, just like the situation with this poor lady, which was just mind-blowing. Yeah.
Blue is a very powerful color in the cosmos and in the multidimensional realms. You move through the blue energy, the royal blue energy, as you are moving through the first series of stargates into what the 9 call celestial awakening. I have a backdrop very similar to this one that has a dragon on. I have a backdrop with a big blue butterfly on it. And I've done a few talks recently with the butterfly backdrop, and I had people write to me saying, please get rid of that blue butterfly backdrop because it's the sign of MK Ultra, the monarch. The blue butterfly is the MK Ultra symbol. I didn't know this because I'm not that studied in MK Ultra. I know what they do, but I've not studied particularly about that. I'd never heard of the blue butterfly. So I asked the 9, and what they were saying is the blue butterfly is a powerful symbol of transformation, freedom, ascension, celestial expansion. And that blue butterfly was hijacked along with multiple other symbols by the service to self groups. So I've never heard of the blue butterfly extraterrestrial race, but I am not surprised because there are multiple races of beings that have moved forward in an evolutionary line from multiple different sources of creation that their DNA has fused with on their star system or planet. I mean, it's just unbelievable that our universe and multiverse is teeming with so much life. So yeah, I'm absolutely believe that there is a blue butterfly race. Yes.
Yeah.
I've not heard of them myself,
I
but
hadn't either, and they're just yeah. And this going back to like all this work that all these folks have done for so long. And you're right. You said it at the top of the show about, sometimes we doubt ourselves. And, I mean, it's just like, I almost can't contain myself. I've worked a long time to slow down, stop and smell the roses, not get into that alpha male thing, not get into get on the treadmill and go, and really flow into things. But I'm so excited because I know this is going down. It's already here. You can't stop it.
No.
That day, I guess it was Wednesday, because we looked at this previous weekend, and Morgan's like, oh my God, there's all these powerful women lined up. It just kind of happened. So we knew something was going down. Then that whole weird day happened on Tuesday. So I get on the show, the first show Wednesday, with a lady I'd never met before, German accent, lives in Scotland. And I said, and I didn't even say hello to her. I just got on. I was like, what the hell's going on? And she said, I don't know. I think the divine feminine jumped on an effing rocket and got shot up into the stars, and we just stepped into our power. But it was a funny joke, a funny comment, but it hit me right between the eyes. I thought, oh my God, it's actually finally happened. And if that's happened, then the other side is going to come up pretty quick. I mean, God, this thing could blow wide open really at any time.
That's exactly how it is, Todd. That's exactly how it is. And each one of us can look at our individual reality and our individual experience and perhaps look at steps that took us to this place. For me personally, it was, and this is a global energy, but everybody will have different interpretations. As the 9 say, we are on individual timelines as well as a global collective timeline. We are experiencing the same reality in our own unique ways. And the way it worked for me was there was this head-on attack coming in from the service to self groups with deep state players. That was not understood by the individuals who are in the false narrative. They just went into fear because they believed the story. But for the others, instead of moving into a fear-based energy, even if they did have fear, despite the fear, they would have all had that call within them. Now it's time. Everything you've ever heard about, everything you've ever learned about, now is the time to step up. And they did step up. And then there was a declaration of sovereignty made. Now, one of the first people to make this publicly, as far as I'm aware, was Laura Eisenhower. Then I myself had this experience and was shown where the declaration of sovereignty comes into a fast track ascension process in 3 steps, which I then put out as a video. Now, I'm aware that other individuals are doing this as well privately. So there was a declaration of sovereignty made, which is a denial of authorization. So that group, that service to self group, were not authorized to continue with this head-on attack. So they've changed tactics, moved into more of a psychological warfare, gaslighting. Let's put the onus on you. Let's set you up for failure. Let's lay a trap for you. That has sent individuals into confusion and awareness that the reality that they thought was fixed and solid and secure is now shaking. That, because of the consciousness shift there into confusion, it's pushed that overall consciousness on this planet in a ripple effect. And that's what's happening now. It's not fully gone around the world yet. So it's happened in the United Kingdom. It's happening in the United States. It's happening in several places in Germany. But this ripple is now going around the planet of 4th dimensional consciousness. It's lower 4th dimensional consciousness. So it is heavy and dense and fearful. But once that goes into its ripple, it starts to move up through the dimensions, move up through the harmonics. And those holding the 5th dimensional energy can see what's happening. And they're holding space for that 5th dimensional energy so that they can cocoon or cushion everyone that's moving through this 4th dimensional rocket. As you said, the person you spoke to used the analogy of rocket. It's like a snowball going down a hill of snow. It gets faster and faster and faster. We are moving into momentum. We're already 5th dimensional consciousness. Some are 6th or more, using the model that the 9 teach me. There are multiple models of this, but this new awareness is gaining momentum. Yeah. And what that means is that everybody on the planet is awakening in some form, even if they're still in the old narrative. What we don't want to do is fall into the trap of fighting with these individuals. We need them to awaken. Now, they are going to fight with us because we are presenting the what they don't want. They want the mainstream media and the government to be true so that they can stay in control. And they're getting all of this other conspiracy stuff coming from all these other places coming in. And admittedly, yes, that's hijacked as well. So that in itself is also going to be causing confusion. So they are going to want to attack us because we're the messenger of that particular message that isn't aligning with their reality. So they will attack us. What we need to do is understand where they are and not retaliate. If those who are aware, the truthers, the starseeds, the light workers, 5th dimensional, however, whatever name they want to give themselves, if they cannot retaliate and pretend in their mind that they're the parent and this is their own child that they love, if they cannot retaliate, then we will not go into this 2-world split in a negative sense. There's going to be, and there is, a 2-world split and a 3-world split positively as we all make our choices as to whether we're going to go through this ascension cycle or not. But what we don't want is a civil war type of split on the planet. And we're at the place now where we can choose. And those that are sort of lost in that false narrative, they can't make the choice because they don't see the bigger picture like we do. So if we can try not to go into this polarity swing with them, bearing in mind that that will be hijacked and that the cabal will take their own operatives or pay individuals to stir up all the trouble there. But if we all stay in our own center and our own power, and we stay grounded, even with those that are attacking us, we can mitigate this plan, which is to create an extreme divide amongst humanity. I see this being mitigated by the fifth dimensional individuals because they are holding that space.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. That's a really good point, because some of the social media expressions, posts, videos, and so on have gotten a little bit extreme in this community. And that's happened from time to time, and that's okay, because there's an ebb and flow to everything. It is getting down to the, it's getting down to where the rubber meets the road here. And more than anything else, we should know by now, holding that 0 point is, I mean, when we're in that energetic space, we don't have to say anything. We don't have to do anything. Our impact is felt in the entire grid.
Yes.
But it's been interesting to watch these, some of the extremity of the polarities, such as, if you don't agree with, if Trump, unfriend me now. If you believe in vaccines, unfriend me now, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, and it's okay, because they're working it out. We're all working it out, but that is a very good point. So whether it's in someone you live with, or your closest circle, or anything else, it's a good time. It's the best time to stay centered, because this is what we need. We don't need those wild fluctuations anymore. And we all know, in these light worker circles, we know that we dictate that. We're responsible for that. And that's the whole, detachment from a victim paradigm, or a, codependent paradigm, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think we've done a great job. And to your point earlier about coming here, and Mary's point last night, we wouldn't have come here if it was going to be, grueling the entire time. No. There's a big payoff here, and it's not just on a personal level. This is universal work we're doing.
Definitely. It's not going to be easy. I mean, this year is a real challenge. It really is. And it is this battle war energetic that's playing out. So it's not going to be easy. But if we can see every movement that occurs for us as part of our integration, for example, you said about social media, it's okay to have these little tiny, delete me if you don't agree with this kind of thing. It's okay for that to occur for a while, while we are in a state of integration, because then that will stop, and we will come to a point where we think there's no point in me trying to wake these people up. There's no point in me trying to teach this person about Trump or Boris Johnson or blue butterfly people. There's no point, because they're not in the space to be able to have that dialogue. So you come to that place, and that means you've gone through a stage of integration. Then you'll go into another stage of integration. And that's what's happening. When you're forced into the fourth dimensional consciousness, especially in the lower astral realms, there's no focus or cohesion. The only way to find focus and cohesion is to integrate. Otherwise, you are lost in this sea of emotional defeatism and powerlessness, and that can affect your mental health. That's kind of there. That's all the intention behind the confusion. But we in the higher dimensional states can assist those people literally in our communities, or by presenting information on social media like we're doing, and energetically as well. So we've got this, the fifth dimensional individuals have got this energy as they as they hold space for these waves. But what we have to do is go with each wave, because we don't know exactly how that will play out. Neither do the service to self. They're making a move. It's like a chess game. They're making a move, and we're thinking, oh, right, they've made a move, we'll do this. They wait for us to make a move, and then they make their next move. So nothing is set. They've got several plans. We could go this way, we could go this way. We've got several plans that's guided by higher dimensional consciousness if we're in alignment. But they're playing a chess game. The whole thing is seen as a chess game, but we do not enter into the chess game in order to play it. We simply stay in alignment, and we know how to move on the day. So being in lockdown is actually a really conducive place to be for aware individuals, because no longer have you got a diary that's full of commitments. So you can't do some channeling on this day, or you can't make a video on that day, or you can't sit and meditate on this day because you've got to meet this person or that person. To be in lockdown and get rid of your commitments actually allows you to go into that natural flow. So you wake up in the morning after a dream, I need to write this down, I need to make a video, I need to do some meditation, I need to go out in nature, I need to sleep more, I need to watch loads of videos. You can go with what you are being told to go with, because you have had that busy energy removed, and that's happened to everyone. Yes, we're getting back out of lockdown, but that busy world that we were in before was not working for anybody, really. It had to change, and this is the upheaval that's creating the change.
And it's actually been a pretty soft change, really. It hasn't been like, if you were to go into it thinking, how can this go down? How can we make this happen? I'd have never thought of something like that. And the way it's gone down, even though it's just amazing. Like, I don't think you could have written a better script. Another thing that's been coming to the surface, well, and you're very familiar with this, but as the years have gone by, people, the information that they're pulling in from the multidimensional, from the higher dimensions, there's more and more of that information is lining up on a daily basis. Somebody puts a post out, somebody makes a video, they're all kind of saying the same thing. And then one of the things too is these couples that are coming together, in the last few years, and there seems to be more and more of them. And a lot of people talked about this would be the year when you'd start to see a lot of them, and among other things. But one of the things that we've been experiencing, gradually as we've evolved in our relationship, has been more and more of the masculine, feminine zero pointing together, and not by some protocol or process, just spontaneously these things would happen, and happened the other day. And I got to believe, and this would include some of the intel that Morgan's pulled down when we connect at night, that this energy is making an impact as well. This balance, masculine and feminine, not just within people's individual fields, but in the external incarnations, of our creation, in the physicality. And that's got to be having a huge effect. In fact, we picked up, I think it was about a month ago, in I think it was over 2 nights that this message came in when we connected, and that was that Trump and Melania were a divine union. And so, that energy, whether that's, that energy has got to be making an impact on this earth, these balanced relationships of really of any sort. But that energy of unconditional love and, equality, it's got to be making a difference. This is the kind of stuff that the controllers can't contend with, this non-physical energy. It's just, and that's where the rocket is to me. The rocket's like, evidently from what I've seen the last few days, that, she has more than landed. She has reached equality. She has said, enough, I've had enough, and it's time to step up. And I think that's affecting everybody.
Yes, that's exactly how it is, Todd. Everything you said. That male female merge and balance has been hijacked for many, many years. The divine feminine has been removed from the equation in many, many teachings, and we've had a patriarchal society and a patriarchal over the top distortion of the masculine, because the feminine power has been taken away. And since 2012, really, possibly even before that, this has been coming together very much within the fifth dimensional individuals. They've been fully aware of that male, female, masculine, feminine energy, which is the same thing as the balance. It's a raise in polarity that's occurring on the planet. So it's a raise in polarity that's occurring within us. So that as that male female balance comes into play within us, and we actually embody the divine twin flame within us as our individualized being, this moves into the trinity, because the male and the female together have a creation, and that trinity, it is that which we're moving into. The dark service to self individuals are fully aware of this, which is why they have attempted to separate families. That is why their intention, or certainly was when they were coming in on their original attempted planetary takeover, their intention was to separate families, separate mothers from children, separate wives from husbands, to actually move that power physically away from the individual, so that they become completely hopeless and helpless and feel they have nothing to live for because they're separated from their child or from their partner. That intention has been picked up by the aware individuals. Truthers have found documents on the internet, and they have shared those. The psychic aware fifth dimensional individuals have picked up on this energy. So they've already started to work in unity to seal that energy, bringing in that declaration of sovereignty. The mother energy steps forward. You will not take my child. The twin flame energy then becomes more powerful. The unification between the male and female becomes more powerful. So again, this is something that is in response to their move, their attacking move. We shall separate you. So the response to that is, we shall be more telepathic than ever. We shall take your children from you. Then the response is, the divine feminine as mother energy will be more powerful than it's ever been before. We will separate you and your wife. And the response is, the twin flame energy shall move forward within each and every individual in abundance. So this polarity, this chess game, is being played out in the higher levels first. And everything we see in the third dimension is simply the manifestation of the higher energetic that's being played out on a psychic level. That's why all fifth dimensional thinking individuals have been trained psychically to work within that field as a collective force. And it's happening in our dreams, and it's happening in our synchronicities. So yes, that is one of the energies occurring right now.
Yeah. And this year, I mean, and especially recently, I mean, and again, people's experiences and their downloads, they're having more and more alignment in the moment. And one of the things that's happening, it's happening to me, and I've talked to several people, and that's the lucid dreams. Like, they're just like talking to you right now. I mean, the recall is there. It's like there's no difference in the awake and in what we call dream state.
Yeah,
that's occurring. And then of course the dimensional experiences that are involving our physicality, like the things that are happening aren't just third eye anymore. And I've got to believe that this is a nonverbal way of anchoring or pulling down this energy that's available
yes,
for whatever reason, and through episodes like I was talking about. I mean, when you're two or more gather, so when you have two or more and there is an awake physical dimensional experience, I mean, that's got to be doing something too. That's got to be like creating very positive, high vibrational stress on, you know, the evolving grid. I mean, so these things are picking up, you know, and the other thing too, which I think is can't be said enough, is these women are stepping up like they never had before. I mean, like women, like I watch these comments on the shows, you know, and you never, I know their names and I know their energy, and some of them are brand new, and but you can see it in their, and they're like, yes, I've been doing this for 20 years, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I can't even imagine it. And I'm married to somebody who did it, you know. I mean, like for 10 years you're doing something in your room by yourself, and you're doing grid work, and you're connecting, and you're downloading, and you know, and I mean, you guys, you paved the way. So for the mother goddess energy, for that divine feminine energy to be at a point of saying, you know what, I'm done. You're not going to take my children. I'm just speaking energetically. You're not going to do no more. Enough. That's it. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing. Amanda Lawrence always says game on. I say, no, it's game over now. And that's that rocket. Like, you can't be stopped. And you're right. Everything happens in the energetic field first.
Yes.
And I think the gap is getting closer and closer, but I just, I don't know. I think this thing can literally change in a blink of an eye. I mean, we're talking about technology, we're talking about capabilities, we're talking about telepathy, we're talking about these children, you know. I mean, look at the information that they have. They've got so much information to share, and children carry a lot of credibility. So when you see them on the mainstream, and they're talking about, oh, I came from a blue planet, I'm here to clean up the earth, you know, or you know, I was, one of them, she was telling me, remembers he was in a room with several other friends, and there was a tall being in front of him, and they were trying to decide which planet they were going to send him to. I mean, these kids, they have this information. It's code. It's not like instruction, but it's information that creates the idea of what is possible and where we've come from.
Exactly. That's why you can't socially distance children, especially young children, because you would have to go into extreme control and borderline, if not actual cruelty, to separate these children. And the children will not be able to do this when they stand in their power, and they stand in their power naturally. They don't understand the control system intellectually, so it's just going to make them miserable to socially distance them, and they will find other ways to connect, and you won't be able to keep a lid on that. And the parents will understand, and the parents won't send their children back to school if they think that there is some kind of social distancing program coming in on a outside of nature energy towards their children. Parents in the know, which is a lot of them right now, probably most of them, won't allow that. But talking of the divine feminine stepping up and you know, really coming into their power, what I would say is the service to self groups are relentless in their distribution of fear and their creation of fear through their control. And the starseeds, the light workers, and very much at the moment, the feminine energetic is relentless in its love and nurturing. So that's what's happening. Then I feel what will occur is we'll have a balance within the divine masculine, the sacred masculine. So at the moment, we've got the feminine energy coming forward energetically. This is May 2020. As we move forward through this year, we will then, that divine feminine energy will move into a balance with the sacred masculine, and the twin flame energetic will truly show itself globally as the males will step forward with the power that they have, and it will be a new frequency for this planet. And that's kind of where we're going through 2020, and everything that the service to self groups do, every step they take, is creating more unity, more awakening, more integration, more alignment. But the road between where we are now and when we get to full ascension is is a road full of multidimensional emotion and experience.
Yeah.
It's a transition period between one state and another state. You could say the third dimension and the fifth dimension, and we're in the fourth, which is one of the explanations the nine are using. And to go back to the butterfly analogy, you're looking at the caterpillar and the butterfly. We're kind of in the cocoon right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where we are. So
yeah, our wings are wet. They're even developed yet. But no, that's true. Yeah, it's like a super conscious army of women. You know, I mean, it's, and I'm saying women, but that feminine energy, and that's pretty much represented by female incarnations. You know.
Yes, but if you come for the children, if you put out an energy that you are going to take the children or harm the children in any way, that will bring up the divine feminine in its full power.
Yeah. And that's not the, like Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. That's more like Kali. And
she's good. She's
absolutely
good.
She is.
Absolutely. She's the womb, the sacred womb. And she, you know, stays in her hidden place. But if you threaten her young, if you threaten her creation, she will step forward. And when you have a whole group of women, which we do telepathically, we might all be separated, but we can come together in conversations like this on Zoom, and we can come together telepathically. The power is infinite.
Yeah, absolutely. It's creation. It's a creation seed.
It's the
creation. So do you have anything coming up that you want to expand awareness of? I know you've been really busy lately, by the way. I mean, you were like kind of in limbo, then all of a sudden a few weeks ago you just start, I mean, you're like putting stuff out. In fact, I try to watch most of your stuff, and I think in the last, you put like 3 or 4 things out. I think I've watched a couple of them, but yeah, you've been really busy. You got anything coming up?
Well, I was halfway through transcribing a new book. So I, you know, and this is quite a big body of work actually that I've been working on for 2 years while I've been doing other things, and that was kind of my main project. And then when this happened, the very day we started hearing about virus, and I can't remember if it was just before lockdown. I think it was just before lockdown. I actually had dreams as to what was happening, to show me. I knew it was an attempted planetary takeover. I could feel the energy, and I had dreams showing me. I actually, in my dream, I remember hearing all this noise outside the window, opening the curtains, looking out the window, and there were people in my road building new structures. So they were digging up the road, and they were setting up all of these weird looking structures that I'd never seen before, with all these weird colors. And the energy of these workers, these construction workers that were creating this new dense architecture, was just totally dedicated to what they were doing, totally knew what they were doing. They knew something that we didn't know, and they had no intention of telling us. They didn't feel sorry for us. They felt no compassion. They felt like this is happening, and that's that. And when I woke up, I just thought, you know, what is this? What on earth does this dream mean? And that's when the 9 told me that we were in the middle of, or at the beginning of an attempted planetary takeover. Obviously I was fearful, because I remember sensing the energy of these workers in the dream that were constructing this architecture. Obviously they were constructing social architecture. That's what the dream was meaning. I was fearful of their energy because it was so dark, and you know, so service to self and so strange to me. So I was fearful, and what the 9 said was, this is going to look like the New World Order implementation. This is going to look like a planetary takeover, and those who aren't able to have that higher viewpoint, that is what they will think it is. Many who have been on this journey in a truth seeking way, they will think this is the New World Order takeover, and there's no convincing them, because they will have proof that this is the case, because everything that they've studied will start to show itself. What I was being told is, This is not. It's an attempt. The reason why it's an attempt is because there are other forces that will not allow it, to do with the balance. So I stopped writing the book. I thought, right, this is, really important, and this is the reason. I thought the ascension process started back in sort of 2008 when I first got online. That I thought that was my call to action. I thought that was the performance. But I now realize actually the call to action is now, and what is yet to come over the course of this year, specifically 2020, but the next few years, the next 5 years, maybe, things will be more evident that there is a light team as we go along. At the moment, it's only really the fifth dimensional individuals and the die-hard truthers, QAnon followers who are actually seeing evidence of the light team. Those that are following this story in an awareness of the New World Order aren't really having that much evidence that there's a light team available. So we've got different ways of thinking within that awake group. The evidence for the light team will be much more physical next year. So yeah, it's not easy what we're going through. It's really not easy, but we incarnated for this time, every single one of us. And like the Nine said, if this was meant to be the New World Order takeover, if that was what is destined for this planet, then why are we here?
Yeah.
Why did I have 12 years worth of work up on YouTube for nothing, for us all to end up a slave race?
Yeah.
Why was I led into this place through multiple synchronistic experiences for years and years and years? And that goes for every starseed. There is your answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many times did we think we were crazy? And how many times we were like, help me. But but it's that's what I mean. It's like, there is a parallel running, and it's one side of it to me is like, how cartoonish can this thing get? And then the other side is and it's not a bad way, and I'm not criticizing it. I'm actually, it's an incredible design, an incredible orchestration, a divine orchestration. But I'm also looking at the other side, and this is what you're saying: all the validation, all the synchronicities, all the experiences are increasing. That stability is in the entire 5D community. We're no longer, there's a lot of support that we're no longer, outside of society. Said, why did I start doing this from 2008? Well, because you wanted to be estranged from your family, you wanted to be called a weirdo. No. I mean, there's these stories are popping up everywhere. We're going to do everything we can to bring more of these people, and let's just be frank about it, mostly women that have been doing this without any notoriety. They don't even want it, but God, the commitment. How many women I've had on here that said, I'm living in, I'm not in society. I'm living with a family member. I'm in my own bedroom. I don't go anywhere. I mean, whoa. And that's all over, and they kept going and they kept going and they kept going. And here we are. So on that note, I want to, on behalf of everybody, I want to appeal to everybody on the live and on the replays on these platforms to support these women, because it hasn't been an easy road. Magenta bust her ass. I mean, she puts out incredible amount of work, books, but let's support them. It's every little bit counts. So, visit her website. She just put a book out, 8 months ago. There's so much information. I'm watching videos that you do that are 4 and 5 and 8 years old. Some of the ones I've watched. But let's support Magenta. She's done yeoman's work, and this is what we need. We need this. They've done a hell of a job. So I want to say thank you, Magenta,
thank you, Todd,
for the work that you've done on behalf of this community, because there's not a whole lot of them out there that have done the extent of the work that you've done, the determination that you've had. And I'm very happy for you and for Daniel and the relationship that you have and the energy that it's providing as well to support this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And until the next time, keep chugging. Keep on agitating in a positive way. Keep on
Yeah,
moving that
I
energy.
will.
Yeah. And tell Daniel hi. And tell Daniel thank you very much.
Yes, I will.
All right. You take care. Thank you.